This guy right here. This guy right here. Coward, scared. And he just told you that he's scared. What are you talking about, WreckTalk? What do you mean he's scared? Well, I'm about to show you. As soon as I can find the scene in OBS to show you. Mack Brown explains why UNC football spring game won't be televised. Look at this. Look at this. In his press conference with the media on Wednesday, head coach Mack Brown explained why the game will no longer be available on the SEC network. Instead, the game will be seen only by fans in attendance. The reason? UNC has made a lot of changes to its defense. Yeah, you're going to make it suck even worse than it did for the past 10 years. That's the only impressive thing that Geoff Collins is going to do. No one thought you could be worse on defense than you have been. Well, you're about to find out this season. UNC made a deal with the ACC network to not televise the spring game. So they've made a lot of changes on their defense, and they have a quarterback battle going on. They don't want anyone. They don't want any practice footage from the game aired. I'm so amazed by this. I just blacked the screen out for a second. We all needed a second anyways. Let me tell the idiot North Carolina fan something. It doesn't matter whether your spring game is televised or not, who plays quarterback. You've had nothing but first-round NFL talent at quarterback. What's that done for you? When was the last time you won the ACC? Say it with me. 1980. 1980. 90% of North Carolina fans weren't alive to see their last ACC championship. You're a disgrace to football. An absolute disgrace to football. Geoff Collins is scared. He thinks if you see who he runs out there on defense and what defensive scheme. First of all, in the spring game, what does every other team do? Georgia Tech has a first-year DC too in Tyler Santucci. But he isn't scared. He was out at the spring game. And you know what? You control everything about the spring game. You don't have to show your entire playbook in the spring. Maybe they didn't come down there. They didn't tell Geoff Collins that. Doesn't surprise me. He's a brain-dead idiot that doesn't know anything anyway. And let me ask you this. First of all, cell phones exist. You don't think someone can't take cell phone footage of your spring game? You don't think that another coach couldn't attend your spring game? Even if it's against the rules, Michigan taught us that. I guess Geoff Collins is so shook by Jim Harbaugh in Michigan that they've blacked out the ACC network televising their spring game, which I hope you had to pay them something to cancel that. I was sitting here breaking down the Georgia Tech spring game, a school that was man enough to televise it, unlike North Carolina. And before you North Carolina fans start typing that Georgia Tech's a disgrace to college football, 3-0. Say it with me, 3-0. You can't beat a team like Georgia Tech. That's how awful North Carolina is. We had the worst coach in the history of college football. At a minimum, the worst coach we've ever had. Y'all said, no problem. We like how Georgia Tech's defense looked when Geoff Collins was there. We'll take him. Let me break it to you slowly, North Carolina. Geoff Collins is going to F your defense up so badly, Mack Brown will retire at the end of this year. Run and tell that. Mack Brown will retire after this year. He's got no idea what he's doing. You know, he's old enough to be that old lady in the Titanic's grandfather, and he's still trying to coach football. What are you going to do after the first game? Are you going to black out every game that you play this season because you're terrified? You're terrified that someone might get, the beat on you? Let's go look at your schedule. What team is so great? What team is so tough? Do they open up, I don't know, with Florida State in Ireland? No, that's Georgia Tech. Because Georgia Tech's man enough to schedule some real teams with a 6th-ranked schedule in the country. Let's go over here and take a look. Let me switch screens again. Notice it doesn't say what network they play on because they're too scared to air it. At Minnesota. Minnesota is who Mack Brown and Geoff Collins are scared to show anything to. Now let's look at the rest of this juggernaut of a schedule y'all got. Charlotte, woo, buddy. NC Central Eagles. There's not many teams in college football at any level I haven't even heard of. Never heard of NC Central. James Madison's a decent team. Duke has a new head coach. Pitt was 3-9 last year, I think. Georgia Tech, that's an automatic dub. That's going to be 4-0. That's going to be 4-0 over the last 4 years. Because your daddy, Brent Key, is going to come into town, and he ain't asking. He's taking what's his. And you better take that ass beating like a man, Geoff Collins. I don't want to see you scurrying off, not doing your interview. Take it like a man. And I'm going to say right now, donate to the channel. I will buy, if he's on the field, I will buy a ticket right behind wherever he's standing. And I'm going to let him know who the truth is. I'll sit right behind him. Let's go back and look at the rest of the schedule. Then you get a bye for Virginia. All right, you got Wake at Boston College, new coach. Wake was 4 and whatever. They didn't even make a bowl last year. The two hardest teams on your schedule, at Florida State and NC State. Another team that is, as much as they like to implode at the end of season sometimes, still finds a way to beat you. You got two ranked teams on your schedule. Let me tell you what a grown man's schedule looks like. Basically on the road to Florida State. It's in Ireland. That counts as a home game for us. Georgia, first of all, let's go back. This is their non-con. At Minnesota, Charlotte, NC Central, James Madison's their non-con. Let's look at Georgia Tech's non-con. Georgia State, VMI, Georgia. Georgia State, VMI. Who else am I missing? Does Notre Dame count as a non-con? I guess so. Georgia Bulldogs on the road. How many ranked teams we play? At Louisville, 1. Notre Dame, Miami, NC State, Georgia. And then Florida State. We got 6 ranked teams on our schedule. 6 of them. So you can say what you want about Georgia Tech. Number 1, you can't beat us. Number 2, we don't schedule, NC Central and whoever teams I've never heard of. I don't know what you're going to do after Minnesota. After you lose to Minnesota, you'll probably request to black out the rest of your games as well. Maybe that's your way out of the conference. You'll just say, hey, man, we're okay with no TV revenue. We don't want to air our games anyways because we're absolutely terrified the advantage that might give someone, even though every other team in the country doesn't seem to have a problem with it. And, Geoff, I know you watch this stuff. I know you watch everything with your name on it. I know what you did when you left Georgia Tech. I know who you called. I know what you said. Someone put out a challenge to you. I've only made 2 bets in my or 1 bet on this channel. Slim Shady Canes. I'm still looking for my money. I'll make one with you, Geoff. I know you're watching this. We'll have a cage match, UFC match. And if I win, you got to pay back Georgia Tech that $11.37 million, and you got to insta-retire from coaching and stop sullying, I mean, I guess I should thank North Carolina for hiring you for guaranteeing 4 wins in a row. If you win, you never have to hear from me again. I'll delete the channel instantly, right after. Let me know. Y'all have a good one.